Hey guys, and welcome to this week's episode of Pauper Ponderings. Thank you so much to everyone who submitted your questions last week. There was a bit of an issue with my producers and whether or not I should be using the Stranger Things intro, so it's down for now. It's going back up, don't worry, as well as the premiere of my, I guess, short film, if you want to call it. So make sure you stay tuned for that. It'll probably be going up beginning of next week after I re-edit it and everything. But, yeah. So if it went down and you saw it, there's a reason it's going back up. Don't worry. I appreciated all the questions. That being said, we have a winner of this counterspell. Haha, look at that. So, the winner of this counterspell is Mr. Peat Bog. So if you could please send me an email, Pete, to my YouTube or to my Gmail, pauperponderings@gmail.com. I will be shipping this out to you as soon as possible. Most likely on Tuesday, because I am going to GP Toronto tomorrow morning. So, unfortunately, I won't be able to ship it because, it's kind of unfair if I ship it to you before I announce who's winning, right? Because I'm recording this right now, Tuesday night. So, congratulations, Pete. I know that you'll appreciate this. It is very nice in person as well. On to the topic of the GP. I will be going to GP Toronto this weekend, playing Legacy, which is pretty crazy, I guess. I kind of play Pauper, so Pauper's kind of Legacy light, if you want to call it that. But if you are going to GP Toronto and you see me, definitely stop by, say hi. I'll be wearing my Pauper Ponderings t-shirt on Friday, playing a bunch of side events. So if you do see me, please come and say hi. That would be fantastic. I'll also bring some shirts. So if you are interested in buying one, they are $25 all in, or whatever you want to call it. They are, I got one right here. So if you'd like one of these bad boys, please let me know. I will bring a couple for you. And finally, a bit of bad news, I guess. My streaming schedule, I guess, I kind of answered it in my Q&A, but I think my schedule is just a little bit too busy, and the internet's here is just not quite good enough for me to consistently stream. I would love to do it, but I think it's just not in the cards right now, and maybe we can revisit it at a later date, but as of right now, it's just going to be Pauper Ponderings every single Thursday, and I want to make sure that the Pauper Ponderings are the best they can be every single Thursday, so I don't want to try and promise something, and if my mom always told me that if you're going to do something, do it well, and if you can't do it well, then just don't do it at all, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm picking my battles, I guess, and unfortunately, as of right now, I'm not going to be able to stream. But more good news, I'm going to the GP. That means I'll be looking for prints. So I gave away those 2 Ponder prints. I'll probably be going to check out some new prints at this GP. Hopefully there's some cool ones. Hopefully I can bring some home for you guys, and I can give those away as well. So let's get right into it. Red-Black Turbo Reanimator. I'm really excited. This deck is hot fire. Let's get going right now. Well, here it is in all of its glory. This is, I would say, Rakdos Turbo Reanimator. And I call it Turbo Reanimator because unlike, the other red-black Reanimator decks, our plan is literally reanimate or bust. We don't have any removal spells. We don't have any sort of, spells that don't forward our game plan. And if you look at this deck right off the bat, it's super slim. We're playing 14 lands, 7 of which are the Mercadian Masques Depletion counter lands, so Sandstone Needle and Peat Bog. They're going to let us explode on turn 2. We have 3 swamps, 2 mountains, and 2 Ash Barrens as our remaining 7 lands. And the Ash Barrens, let's get bigger there for me. Then we have 4 copies of Lotus Petal and 4 copies of Simian Spirit Guide to act as, 8 more lands. We have 4 copies of Gitaxian Probe Manamorphose to filter through our deck as fast as possible. And then we have our, kind of engine cards in Cathartic Reunion, Tormenting Voice, and Faithless Looting, along with Stinkweed Imp. So we're looking to put either Ulamog's Crusher or Eldrazi Devastator into the graveyard, cast an Exhume, put it back into play, and then have a Dragon Breath in our graveyard, which is 1 red for an enchantment, and enchanted creature gets haste, and then you can pay 1 red and give a +1/+0. But when a creature with converted mana cost 6 or greater enters the battlefield, you can have Dragon Breath attached to it from the graveyard. So, ideally, we cast Cathartic Reunion, discarding Dragon Breath and Ulamog's Crusher. We then cast Exhume and then attack them for 8, and make them sacrifice 2 of their permanents. We also get to play Gurmag Angler because we're dumping so many cards into the graveyard, so very often you're able to, you know, go turn 2 or turn 3, Ulamog's Crusher, Gurmag Angler, go, and sometimes even attack with Gurmag Angler, attack with Ulamog's Crusher. So this deck is very powerful, very explosive, but it's just way on the other edge. I wanted to see, you know, my buddy Patrick, he sent me this list. This is on the extreme combo end of this deck. You can build this deck with Chainer's Edicts and, you know, removal spells, but I figured if we're going to go Reanimator, and like Patrick said, if we're going to go Reanimator, let's do it. Over in the sideboard, we have some other reanimation targets. We have Striped Riverwinder for control decks. We have Folk Grinder for any sort of Tron deck we play against. We have Fangren Marauder, which is just very good against Affinity. And then we have 2 copies of Moment's Peace because it's good out of the graveyard, and then 4 copies of Fairy Macabre because it's a free spell and we don't have very many lands to play with as is. I think this deck is very sweet. I'm excited to get into some games. Hopefully don't play against any blue decks. That's what we're hoping for, so let's get right into it, guys. Alright, so we're here for round number 1, playing off against Diamond Duet on the draw, and he leads off on Vault Scourge, which means he's most likely on Stompy. We see that he's on Stompy with Nettle Sentinel. So our hand looks to be pretty solid, but we're still kind of lacking any sort of big payoff. We're able to find Ulamog's Crusher. We see his hand is basically Forest and Hunger of the Howl Pack. So we continue on, we play a Peat Bog. We realize we can kind of hold off for a little bit. He attacks us for 3. So now we cast Manamorphose. We play a Mountain. We go ahead and we pay 5. We play Stinkweed Imp into Gurmag Angler and pass. So this gives us a really kind of good defense. Stinkweed Imp very, very good against his deck. You see he has to send the Vault Scourge into it, which he blocks. He's then able to put 3 ++ counters on the Nettle Sentinel. We just go right ahead and attack into it, no problem. We also draw the Exhume. We kind of thought about whether or not we should attack here. He doesn't block. We put Ulamog's Crusher into play. He puts a Vault Scourge into play. He can attack us and scoops it up for game number 1. Alright, so for game number 2, we're on the draw. You can see our hand looks pretty good. We have 2 Sandstone Needles with a Manamorphose and Exhume and an Ulamog's Crusher. We're just looking to find out a way to put the Ulamog's Crusher into the graveyard. So our opponent leads on Nettle Sentinel and pass. We find Simian Spirit Guide. We play Sandstone Needle and pass. Our opponent attacks us down to 18, plays a Burning Tree Emissary. Gets him 2 mana and a Scattershot Archers. There's our Cathartic Reunion. So now we discard the Stinkweed Imp and the Ulamog's Crusher. We draw Dragon Breath, unfortunately, and then Manamorphose. So we go ahead and cast the exile Simian Spirit Guide, then cast Manamorphose. Draw Mountain, cast another Manamorphose. Here we're just looking to possibly find a way to discard the Dragon Breath. We put the Ulamog's Crusher into play, and then we're able to actually cast the Dragon Breath. So pretty lucky there. He has to sacrifice 2 permanents. He gets in there for 5, puts us to 13. We untap, play a Swamp. We attack in, we pump our Ulamog's Crusher. He ends up sacrificing Scattershot Archer and Force, and then he Hunger of the Howl Packs his Nettle Sentinel. Takes 11 down to 1. And then we play Gurmag Angler, and that is basically it. And you can really see the power of this deck. Very, very strong against these kind of not mid-rangey, but kind of just smaller, not quite as fast decks. And when they have no disruption, like he had no graveyard hate, we're able to just, create these just ridiculous threats so fast. And we're off to round number 2 after going 2-0. All right, so for round number 2, we were on the play, and this is a very good hand. As you can see, we have basically everything to go off. We have the Cathartic Reunion, we have everything. We just need a black source, so that's what we're looking for in our first turn of the game. Our opponent leads off on Snow-Covered Island into a Preordain, which basically puts him on, in my opinion, Blue-Red Delver. On our turn, we cast Gitaxian Probe, and we see a hand of Think Twice, Lightning Bolt, Ponder, Thermal Alchemist, Augur of Bolas, and Ponder. On our turn, we cast Cathartic Reunion, find our kind of a black source in Manamorphose, which is going to give us black mana. We're able to then cast the Exhume, put the Ulamog Crusher into play, and put a Dragon Breath on it, and you can pretty much assume what our opponent's going to do here. And this is just busted, right? This is turn 2 on the play. We attack him for 8 and make him sacrifice his only land. I mean, I guess that's what we signed up for. And our opponent scoops shortly thereafter. So game number 2, our opponent is on the play. We keep a pretty decent hand. Our opponent starts off with a Gitaxian Probe and passes. On our turn, we play a Peat Bog and pass. Our opponent gets a Mountain and passes. And then he plays a Thermal Alchemist. We have a Cathartic Reunion. So our Cathartic Reunion discarded a Ulamog's Crusher and a Faithless Looting, and then drew us Swamp, Mountain, and Dragon Breath. Opponent's turn, he cast very important here. On our upkeep, our opponent sacked his Relic of Progenitus, and our hand still looks very good. So I was actually pretty happy about that. Whereas we discard our Eldrazi Obligator, we cast Gitaxian Probe, very important. We see his hand of Negate, Firebrand Archer, Snow-Covered Island, Lightning Bolt, and Ponder. So we cast a Lotus Petal, still looking to find a reanimation spell. Not able to do it, but we're eventually able to still cast Gurmag Angler. And we are able to put the Dragon Breath on it, so, you know, still in a pretty good spot. And we attack in for 5, sending him down to 13. On his turn, he casts the Firebrand Archers and passes the turn. Our turn, we draw the Exhume, but we know that he has the Negate. So here we're trying to bait it out a little bit. And we just end up casting the Negate or the Exhume into the Negate. We figure it wasn't going to get any better. He does deal us a decent amount of damage here. But we are able to get in for 5. He does not block. He goes down to 8, pings us down to 14. On his turn, he just kind of goes off. He has the Tandem Lookout. And he has the Ponder, which deals us another damage. Then he Gitaxian Probes us. So he goes down to 6 here. I was kind of hoping that people always forget that Dragon Breath has the ability to give your creature fire breathing. So I was kind of hoping he was just going to take it and we were going to fire breathe him out. But it was pretty bad at this point. He's on 4 cards. We draw another Dragon Breath. We attack and he blocks. And that is essentially the game. Putting us down to 9. Deals us another damage. Plays another Firebrand Archers, and then spreads our Gurmag Angler, and that is enough for us to pack it in. Alright, so I should preface this by saying I actually haven't sideboarded a card yet. I haven't really felt like we needed any of the cards so far. Alright, so here is actually the most busted turn. So we draw Ulamog's Crusher. I'm going to go through this a little slowly. And we just cast the Manamorphose. Again, casting Manamorphose is usually pretty safe, especially in these situations. We draw Gurmag Angler, we cast another Manamorphose, finds us the Exhume. We then we have 2 mana floating. We cast the Lotus Petal, cast another Lotus Petal, cast Cathartic Reunion. We end up discarding the Ulamog's Crusher and the Swamp, drawing 3 cards: Simian, Spirit Guide, Tormenting Voice, and Eldrazi Devastator. But you know what's coming. We're casting the Exhume, putting the Ulamog's Crusher into play. And then we cast Gurmag Angler right after that. Oh no, we don't cast the Gurmag Angler. We didn't have the black. I'm sorry. And yeah, that was it. So as you can see, just how busted this deck is. It just, like, these starts are just so. You just don't see these in Pauper. And we obviously didn't have haste, but the fact that we were attacking in for 8, he was going to lose both of his lands right before he got to even play his 3rd. That's just so crazy, and it just really shows the power that is capable in Pauper. And this is even against the blue deck. Right, so we're here for round number 3, trying to go 3-0. So we keep a pretty decent hand here. We lead off on Sandstone Needle. Our opponent plays Urza's Mine. So on turn number 2, we Gitaxian Probe him to see basically any sort of, you can see Condescend, Disfigure, Doomblade, Echoing Decay, Exclude, Urza's Mind, but he has no colored mana sources. Very important to keep in mind here. We then cast the Faithless Looting. Still unable to find any of our real threats. There's our Ulamog's Crusher though, so we know we are in pretty good shape, just looking to find an Exhume. Our turn we cast Cathartic Reunion, hoping to get there. And obviously we get there. So then we cast another Lotus Petal just to play around any sort of shenanigans. Cast the Exhume, and that is enough for our opponent to scoop them up. This deck is so awesome. So we start our quest for, or not start, I guess we're going for the 3-0. In this match, very important to count out, we boarded in Fairy Macaques. Just because he was kind of a blue-black Tron deck. Our opponent goes turn 1 Dismal Backwater. So here, it gets a little fun. So we go Faithless Looting, discard, Ulamog's Crusher, and Ulamog's Crusher. We then, go ahead and cast this Exhume, put this Ulamog's Crusher into play, and just like that, after Gitaxian Probing him, seeing a hand of Prophetic Prism, Duress, Negate, Prohibit, Muldrifter, Urza's Mind, and Condescend. Yeah, well, those cards are all nice, but when you don't have any lands, it does not matter. And there it is, he scoops it up. 3-0 with Red-Black Reanimator, or Turbo Reanimator as I like to call it. Let's talk about this deck at the conclusion, because this thing is a blast. Well, guys, I hope you had as much fun as I did playing this deck, or watching me play this deck. I genuinely would say build this deck. This is definitely on the upper end of the price scale in terms of pauper decks, though. Like, I know the Lotus Petal is a pretty good amount of money. Simian Spirit Guide's like $5. Manamorphose, I think, is like $5 as well. So if you're looking to build this deck, do keep in mind that this is going to be a little bit more expensive than your normal deck. I guess even Ash Barrens is a bunch of money, too. So yeah, make sure that if you have these cards, put this deck together, because it is an absolute blast. When you push a deck so far into that kind of maximum combo, you're going to have those types of games. And when you don't play against any sort of deck that can disrupt you, you're going to do a bunch of busted stuff. And even we played against 2 blue decks, and on the draw, those decks were just too slow. We went off on turn 2 consistently with this deck. Sometimes just making an 8-8 with Annihilator 2, but sometimes we were attacking with that creature. And when you attack them with 1 land in play, that game is just over. Like, what are they supposed to do in that spot? So, thank you so much for watching, guys. I will be in GP Toronto, as I said before the video, so if you want to come say hi, by all means, please do. I'll be wearing my Pauper Ponderings t-shirt on Friday. So, if you want me to bring some Pauper Ponderings t-shirts, let me know. I will bring them for you. And have fun playing this deck. If you're going to GP Toronto, have a bunch of fun. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next week.